Hi, boys and girls. We are going to continue about learning different types of foods and different things that remind us about Thanksgiving. So, corn is maize, the gift of the Indians. Written and illustrated by Aleki. I hope I'm saying that correctly. So, this is a factual book because it's for science. So, let's read and find out science. So, it's informational reading. Corn is maize. This is a kernel of corn. It is a seed corn. It is a corn seed. Kernels of popcorn are planted in a small hill of good earth. The sun shines down on them. Spring rain waters the soil. The hard seeds soften and sprout. A leaf appears and a stalk begins to grow. More leaves come from joints called nodes. A corn stalk shoots up fast. Farmers say that on a quiet evening they can hear the corn growing. By midsummer, the plant is taller than the farmer. Husks have begun to sprout from the nodes. A husk is a bundle of leaves tightly wrapped around strands of silk. The corn silk is the female part of the plant. Tassels grow like a hat at the top of the stalk. The tassels are the male flowers. In the summer breeze, clouds of tiny grains of pollen blow from the tassels. The pollen falls on the silk of neighboring corn plants. Each pollen grain pollinates the strands of silk it sticks to. After fertilization, a kernel of corn will grow at the end of each strand. The corn husk grows inside the wrapped leaves. Hundreds of kernels grow into an ear of corn. The silk turns from a creamy color to a dark red-brown. Just before it turns brown, it is time to pick the corn and husk it. The husk and the silk are pulled away. The sweet, juicy ear of corn is ready to cook and eat. Farmers leave some ears on the stalk. The brown silk dries, the kernels harden and are saved. They are seeds for next year's crop. Many plants can grow wild. The wind scatters their seeds over the earth, and they grow. Kernel corns cannot fly off the ear and scatter. If an ear falls on the ground, a sprout will grow from each kernel, and the new sprouts would grow in a tangled heap and die. Corn cannot grow by itself. Corn seeds must be planted so they are spaced around each hill for the tall plants to grow. The plants must be weeded or the baby sprouts will be choked. Corn cannot grow without the help of man. Then, where did corn come from? How did it start? For many years, there was no answer. It was a mystery. Scientists knew corn belonged to the same grain family as wheat, rye, oats, barley, and rice. They are all grass plants. They all have jointed stems and nodes. They all grow wild, but although scientists search, they can never find any wild corn. Not long ago, they found some. It was in a cave in Mexico where people once lived. They found scraps of plants and tiny ears of ancient corn, more than 5,000 years old. It was not like any the scientists had ever seen. At last, they could piece together the story of how corn began. Thousands of years ago, people lived in caves in South and Central America. They planted the seeds of a wild grass, perhaps one found in a cave. Scientists think that the ancient plant was a tall stalk with one ear at the top. The tassel grew out of the ear. Each tiny orange or brown kernel was wrapped in its own husk or pod. The kernels grew so loosely they could fall off the cob and plant themselves. The cave dwellers planted and cared for this pod corn. In time, some scientists think the pollen of another grass called Eosante, or pollen of other plants, fertilized the corn. It took hundreds of years for plants to grow stronger and the ears longer. People found that grain was good for them. It made them stronger, just like beans, squash, and other plants they knew about. Tribes in the north began to grow corn too. In time, people in all of the Americas were growing different kinds. They learned the right time to plant according to their climate. Different tribes planted in different ways. Some tribes planted 5 seeds in a hill, others planted 2. Some tribes planted bean seeds with the corn kernels so that the vine would grow up the stalk. Many tribes learned to bury a fish in each hill. The fish rotted and made good soil. By the time Christopher Columbus landed in the New World, the people he named Indians were expert farmers. The women tended the crops while the men hunted. They harvested the corn. Some of it they ate fresh, most of it they dried. They saved some for seeds. The rest they ground into meal on a flat stone called a metate. They ate the meal dry or made bread with it. They cooked it into mush. Indians of Mexico used cornmeal to make pancakes called tortillas. They made tamales, wrapping spiced meat mixed with meal in husks and boiled them. Many tribes boiled tiny, tender corn in the husks and ate the ears whole. They ate corn on the cob. They popped it. Tribes in the north cooked corn with beans and called it misikacha. I don't know. Indians ate the tassels of the corn plant and sucked the sweet, fresh stalks. They learned to store corn for the long winter ahead. Corn, the Indians' only grain, was their main food. They lived and depended on it. Corn was so important to them that various tribes prayed to the corn gods they believed had sent them. They had festivals and planting time at harvest. They chanted and made music, and each tribe danced its own corn dance. When Christopher Columbus returned to Europe, he told of the Indians and the grain they knew. He called it maitza, which sounded like the name the Indians had used. Even today, the correct word for corn is maize. The word corn means grain. Corn is also the word used for most important grain a country grows. In some countries, wheat is called corn. In others, oats are called corn. The Pilgrims called maize corn, Indian corn, and Americans have called it corn ever since. When the Pilgrims landed in America, maize saved their lives. Indians gave them dried grain to eat and showed them how to plant the crop. On the first Thanksgiving, the Pilgrim and the Indians together gave thanks for the corn harvest as the Indians had done long before. The Pilgrims learned other things from the Indians. They stuffed mattresses with husks, burned cobs for fuel, made corn cob pipes, and corn stalk dolls too. Today, people all over the world grow corn. There are many, many kinds. popped sweet flour, flint, dent, pod. We eat only sweet corn and use popped for popping. The rest is used for feed animals and to make corn flour, cornmeal, cornstarch, corn oil, corn syrup, cereal, baby powder, glue, soap, alcohol, medicine, and many other things. So like rubbing alcohol. New scientists have developed new kinds of corn. They have more and better protein than any other kind. People need protein to make them strong and healthy. Scientists hope someday this new corn will help many hungry people in the world. On large farms today, machines help farmers plow and sow seeds. The harvesters pick corn and dry it so it can be stored without rotting. Then it is taken to a mill to be ground. But not all corn is planted and ground by machines. In parts of America, Indian farmers still grow their corn. They plant the seeds as their ancestors did. They care for the plant and harvest it and grind it on a metate. And they praise the corn that was fed their people. And they praise the corn that has fed their people for thousands of years.